If there's one thing that candidates know how to do, it's how to fake sincerity. We've all seen it. They tear up at a certain point in a speech and they do the same thing 50 times in giving the same speech. But there was a moment with Chris Christie campaigning in New Hampshire that you couldn't fake, that was utterly authentic, that was raw, and that was riveting. He was talking about drug addiction, not a topic that's gotten a whole lot of attention in this presidential campaign. Happens to be a big issue in New Hampshire. And Christie was at a town hall. This was videotaped by the Huffington Post. I don't know if the governor knew that he was on camera. Obviously, he had an audience there. And he started out talking about his mother and how she had been addicted to cigarettes and how she eventually had developed lung cancer, that nobody blamed her for developing lung cancer, even though, like a lot of people of that generation, she had been a lifelong smoker. And then Christie started talking about a friend from law school who he had admired and perhaps resented a little bit because the guy was so successful. Just take a look.
By every measure that we define success in this country, this guy had it. Great-looking guy, well-educated, great career, plenty of money, beautiful, loving wife, beautiful children, great house. He had everything. He's a drug addict, and he couldn't get help, and he's dead.
If you watch the whole 6.5 minutes of this, Christie is speaking from the heart, from the gut, and it is just riveting. And it kind of reminded me, not just that Chris Christie is a very talented politician, but what we in the media all thought about him when he was gearing up or examining running the first time in 2012. This is before the Bridgegate scandal. This is before he's way down in the polls this time. I mean, this is a guy who just had a certain natural appeal, whether it was telling a story like that or, you know, telling people to sit down and shut up in a town hall or scolding reporters or whatever. I mean, the appeal of Chris Christie, I think, and you can't fake what we just saw from New Hampshire, is that he talks like a real human being. And sometimes he is happy, and sometimes he is sad, and sometimes he is angry, and sometimes he's very Jersey. But that, I think, is one of the reasons that he has gotten himself elected in a blue state twice to the governor's mansion. Now, none of this changes the fact that Chris Christie is down at 2 or 3% in the polls, that he hasn't broken through, that he's been overshadowed by another equally high decibel candidate from across the Hudson River, Donald Trump. But I think in every campaign there is a moment for certain candidates that kind of crystallizes not just their message, but who they are. And for me, and I've watched this thing several times now, this was Chris Christie's moment, and regardless of what happens to him in this campaign, it is such a raw and riveting moment that I think it's worth us all watching and learning from.